Everyone. Thanks for tuning in this afternoon or whenever you have a chance to listen as we continue our series, Be Well Read. I know I always say it is a joy, and it is, but especially so this week, to be back with you since we missed our time together a couple of weeks ago. I am back, and we are back, and we are seeking not only to be well and serve well, but to use books in that endeavor. Being well read is indeed one of the ways I believe that we can learn to be well and serve well. If you've been following along for a while, you know that I believe each of us is here on this planet to serve each other, to serve our communities, to serve our Creator. And we simply can't serve well if we're not well. Be well, serve well. This is a wellness initiative where I have the privilege of helping people heal. And by inviting people to improve their well-being, increase immunity, strengthen energy, bring joy and generosity into their lives, your life, so that you can then step back into the world, truly being well and joyfully serving well. Now, Thanksgiving is fast approaching, and while it may not look the same this year as in years gone by, at your home, my home, around our tables, I believe that Thanksgiving is every day, and every day is an opportunity to give thanks. And I give thanks for this time that we have to share. It's been said that feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a gift and not giving it. Rather pointless, right? Today we're going to wrap the gift of gratitude, giving ourselves and those around us the gift of books and the gift of health at the same time. Now, gift giving season is upon us as well, and today I want to share with you the works of Anne Lamott, books that I believe are perfect for gift giving to anyone at any time. I believe Anne Lamott is a national treasure, and perhaps not officially so, but at least in my mind and heart. Her irreverent, vulnerable approach to life's ups and downs, the pains and pleasures that we all experience, her dry wit, and her dedication to carving words of compassion, humor, grace, and truth, these are indeed a gift. Lamott is a past recipient of the Guggenheim Fellowship. She's also an inductee into the California Hall of Fame. She lives in Northern California. Now, before I share her books with you, I want to tell you that after this live post, we're going to place in the comments a link so that you can listen to Anne Lamott giving a TED Talk. I want you to hear her voice, because I believe if you hear her voice even once, then when you read her books, you will always hear her voice. And once you hear her voice, you'll see why that matters to me. She has a very unique cadence. She has impeccable timing as she shares her incomparable craft. I hope you'll take time. It's a TED Talk, so it's less than 20 minutes, and it's well worth your time. So among her New York Times best-selling books are Stitches, A Handbook of Meaning, Hope, and Repair. There's also Some Assembly Required, which she's written, you'll see, with Sam Lamott, her son. That's about the birth of his son. One of the books that is at Story and Song that I don't have a copy of is called Hallelujah Anyway. I like that title. And then there's Small Victories. We all need small victories. Spotting Improbable Moments of Grace. Speaking of grace, grace eventually. And then the book that introduced me to her work, Traveling Mercies. Traveling Mercies. I have no less, I think that's 6, maybe 7 of her books. And I'm really eager to read her upcoming book called Dusk, Night, Dawn. These books that I've shown you so far are all nonfiction and largely autobiographical, but she also writes some fiction, like this one, Imperfect Birds, and a book titled Rosie. She's prolific. And yes, as I said, I believe she's a gift. And her books are perfect gifts. So let's keep those in mind. I hope after today that you'll seek her out and give yourself the gift of reading one or more of her books. Story and Song has a number of these on their shelves and on their website. So please remember, if you're listening in from off the island, be sure to visit the online bookstore for your books. As Story and Song supports Be Well, Serve Well in this collaboration and our community, our shared community, I would be remiss if I didn't offer thanks and if we didn't offer thanks by supporting them as well. So today I want to share with you a little book by Lamott titled Help, Thanks, Wow, with special focus on the word in the middle, thanks. It is, after all, almost Thanksgiving. Giving thanks. Today we're going to focus on gratitude and the impact that gratitude can have on our health. The impact is significant and it's scientifically proven. In one of my workshops, I teach 12 principles of a healthy lifestyle. And one of the principles is to be grateful. Gratitude matters. This is the glass half empty or the glass half full principle. Just this year, the American Heart Association reported that some neuroscience experts think our brains focus on negative information, glass half empty, as a way to remember so that we can avoid them in the future. This is called the negativity bias. And to balance out this natural tendency, we can practice gratitude. Gratitude is good medicine, says Dr. Robert Emmons, a professor of psychology at the University of California, Davis, and author of a book called The Little Book of Gratitude. I like that. The report goes on to say, quote, clinical trials indicate that the practice of gratitude can have dramatic and lasting effects on a person's life. It can lower blood pressure, improve immune function, something we all need in the midst of a pandemic. It goes on to say grateful people engage in more exercise and have better dietary practices. And they are less likely to smoke and less likely to abuse alcohol. These are powerful impacts on our health. I believe it's time Thanksgiving was more than a once-a-year occasion. I do the work I do because of the healing journey of a dear friend who will tell you and anyone who asks her that she is forever grateful for her diagnosis with a disease that Western medicine told her was rare and incurable. Grateful because the diagnosis was a wake-up call, an invitation, an opportunity to do just what my tagline says, explore, surrender, heal. She healed fully and completely by exploring the possibilities, by surrendering to the process and elevating her consciousness and her life in ways that she never imagined before she heard the words rare, incurable. This friend is completely symptom-free today, fully healed, and forever grateful. Gratitude. Now, Anne Lamott sees gratitude as one of three essential prayers. Help, thanks, wow. Help, asking for guidance, much needed at times. Thanks, appreciating the good help that comes if we are willing to receive it. And wow, feeling awe in the world, truly a gift on any day. Beginning her work, Lamott offers a brief class, what she calls the prelude to her book, Prayer 101. You see, she intuitively knows that there are people, perhaps you're one of them, who recoil from faith language, from words like prayer. She wisely speaks to the apprehension right from the top. Prayer, she writes, is not for display purposes like plastic sushi or neon. Prayer is private. And she encourages her reader not to get stuck on whom or to what we are praying. Let me read a little bit. Let's just say prayer is communication from our hearts to the great mystery, or goodness, or Howard. There she's referencing something she said earlier about the Christian Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. She goes on. It's communication from our hearts to the animating energy of love we are sometimes bold enough to believe in, to something unimaginably big and not us. We could call this force not me, or not preachers on stage with a choir of 800, or for convenience, we could just say God. With classic Anne Lamott humor and dry wit, she goes on to describe her introduction to prayer and her first experience with prayer, both of which require a little background about how she was raised. I was raised, she writes, to believe that people who prayed were ignorant. It was voodoo, asking an invisible old man to intervene, God as Santa Claus. God was the reason for most of the large-scale suffering in history, like the Crusades and the Inquisition. Therefore, to pray was to throw your lot in with Genghis Khan and Torquemada, which just happened to be the name of our huge, giant orange cat. And with snake handlers, instead of beautiful John Coltrane, William Blake, Billie Holiday. My parents worshiped at the Church of the New York Times, and we bowed down before our antique hi-fi cabinet, which held the Ark of the Covenant, Miles Davis, and Thelonious Monk albums. So to recap, she writes, my parents, who were too hip and intellectual to pray, worshipped mostly mentally ill junkies. Being raised by atheists, her first experience of prayer took place at somebody else's house, when as a little girl she would spend the night with friends. She shares this experience. Some of you were taught to pray at bedtime with your parents, and when I spent the night with you, I heard all of you saying these terrifying things. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I... Wait, what? What did you say? I could die in my sleep? I'm 7 years old. I pray the Lord my soul to take. That so did not work for me, especially in the dark, in a strange home. Don't be taking my soul. You leave my soul right here in my 50-pound body. Help. Many of us turn to prayer for the first time when we're desperate. Even the staunchest atheist facing a life-threatening diagnosis invariably cries out in pain, perhaps cries out in anger, cries out, help, to which Lamott responds with applause and an invitation to dinner. If you say to God, I'm exhausted and depressed beyond words, and I don't like you at all right now, and I recoil from most people who do, that might be the most honest thing you've ever said. If you told me you had said to God, it is all hopeless and I don't have a clue if you exist, but I could use a hand, it would almost bring tears to my eyes, tears of pride in you, for the courage it takes to get real, really real. It would make me want to sit next to you at dinner. Lamott writes eloquently, too, of the act of seeking help, seeking light in the darkness of disease and what I call dis-ease, the desperate, dark dis-ease with some aspect of our lives. But like sunflowers, we turn toward the light. Light warms, and in most cases it draws us to itself. And in this light, we can see beyond shadow and illusion to something beyond our modest receptors, to what is way beyond us and deep inside. Many people come to me living in fear, living in a negative place, consumed by all the news and noise and nonsense of our world, Living in fear, we cannot live in gratitude, and we do damage to ourselves and others on a deep cellular level. We cannot be grateful and fearful at the same time. Fear displaces gratitude. Gratitude for the small blessings that are present every day, and yes, even in the midst of a pandemic. What if we might give thanks for the lesson this pandemic offers us, including encouragement to renew our commitment to community, our understanding that health is indeed collective, and our recognition that perhaps there's a little bit more we could do to be well and to serve well. Fear of the pandemic, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, these fears and more displace gratitude. Gratitude for the small blessings we miss because our focus is on the negative, that negativity bias I mentioned earlier. Small blessings because we turn on the TV and forget to turn it off, and so it becomes background noise to our lives. Blessings we miss because we engage in the chatter in our heads that Lamott writes about. There is relief in letting go, in turning off what Thich Nhat Hanh calls radio NST, radio non-stop thinking. There is relief and there is healing. She writes, there's freedom in hitting bottom, in seeing that you won't be able to save or rescue your daughter, her spouse, his parents, or your career. Relief in admitting you've reached the place of great unknowing. This is where restoration can begin, because when you're still in the state of trying to fix the unfixable, everything bad is engaged. The chatter in your mind, the tension in your physiology, all the trunks and wheels on you carry from the past. It's exhausting, crazy making. But then she asks, gently and profoundly, but where do we even start this daily walk of restoration and awakening? And she answers, again, gently and profoundly, we start where we are. Praying help means that we ask that something give us the courage to stop in our tracks where we are and turn our fixation away from the Gordian knot of our problems. We stop the toxic peering and instead turn our eyes to something else, to our feet on the sidewalk, to the middle distance, to the hills, whence our help comes. Someplace else, any place else. Maybe this is a shift of only 8 degrees, but it can be a miracle. It may be one of those miracles where your heart sinks, where you think it means you've lost, but in surrender, you have won. And if it were me, after a moment, I would say, thanks. Gratitude is a great starting place. We often think of health as a destination, a goal, especially in our goal-oriented, results-driven society. Lonnie Mulrath is an author, teacher, specialist in behavior change and plant-based nutrition. She says this, health is not something down the road, a state to reach or a place to get to. Health is a state of attitude and mind that naturally invites skillful choices in the moment. Gratitude is a state of attitude and mind that naturally invites skillful choices in the moment too, and being grateful has a direct impact on our wellness and our wholeness. As a practice, genuine gratitude decreases stress. Who couldn't use that? It decreases depression. Too many could use that. And it increases joy. We could all use that. But here it is. It increases immunity. Are you a glass half full or a glass half empty person? How we choose to see our lives impacts us on a deep cellular level. Help. Thanks. Wow. According to WebMD, gratefulness links to optimism, which links to immunity. Some of you may have heard me tell the story of a University of Utah study that showed how stressed out law students, I'd be stressed out if I was a law student too, stressed out law students who were more grateful were more optimistic and had more scientifically recognizable immune boosting cells. As Lamott notes, gratitude changes our perspective. It shifts our focus. Most of us figure out by a certain age, some of us later than others, that life unspools in cycles, some lovely, some painful, but in no predictable order. So you could have lovely, painful, and painful again, which I think we would all agree isn't fair at all. You don't have to like it, and you are always welcome to file a brief with the complaints department. But if you've been around a while, you know that much of the time, if you are patient and are paying attention, you will see that God will restore what the locusts have taken away. Awful stuff happens, and beautiful stuff happens, and it's all part of the big picture. And at some point, we cast our eyes to the beautiful skies above all the crap we're wallowing in, she writes, and we whisper, thank you. People scoffed at Glenn Fox, a young doctoral student of neuroscience at USC in 2019, when he began to study the impact of gratitude on the human brain. But he pressed on, finding direct links between this emotion of gratitude and human brain structure, also tied to social bonding, reward, and stress relief. Lamott writes of the balm of gratitude. I love that phrase, the balm of gratitude. What a relief, she writes. All of Lamott's writing, you will find, at least her nonfiction works, as I have said, are somewhat autobiographical. She offers wit and wisdom, deep and wide, from her life as a recovering addict, her life of unexpected faith, her life as a daughter, a sister, a mother, a grandmother, and her life as a friend. I was particularly struck by her telling of an afternoon spent with friends, as it speaks to this relief, this balm of gratitude, restoration, and awakening that is ours for the taking, allowing us to be well and serve well when we skillfully choose to step into gratitude. I'd like to read this to you. Recently, she writes, I was going to meet my great and amazing friends, Barbara and Susie, for a walk, or rather a stroll and roll, as Barbara has Lou Gehrig's disease. As I've pointed out to her, Lou Gehrig's is the one disease you are supposed to avoid, actively try to avoid. But she went ahead and got a full-blown case, which has come to mean she uses a walker, feeding tubes, and a computerized speaking device called Kate that works through her iPad. So Susie drove us to see the Pacific Ocean from above San Francisco's Moraga Steps. I had not settled down into what is true yet, that Barbara's pretty sick and getting worse. So I sat in a state of jovial nervousness in the back seat, feeling alone and useless and superficial. When we arrived, the view was socked in with fog. We gamely got out of the car anyway, and on top of everything, the Lou Gehrig's disease, the vichyssoise fog, my anxious sorrow, there was one of those mean winds that prick at your body and your mind and your very being. Plus, they make your skin look terrible, just ghastly. It was all hopeless. I had no choice but to pray. This is all a mess, I said to God. I love these two women so much, and I had such high hopes for connection and joy today. Help. And I got my divine revelation. We all needed to get back in the car immediately. This took a while, as there is not much immediately when you're with someone with ALS. But at some point, warmth and golden sun flooded through the car windows, and Susie drove us around the neighborhood and from Inside, we took in the brilliant gardens of succulents and crazy, bright, splashy, exotic petals. We found the one perfect parking spot at the foot of the steps where we could spend as much time as we liked, looking up directly at the magical mosaic on the tall, steep steps at the bottom. At the bottom, random plump fish in nursery colors against the deep blue of the sea. And then came creatures from beneath the ground, spiraling to animals that walk on the earth, and then to what is above, to the sky and the birds and the clouds, and an exuberant Mexican sun which curls up into the expansiveness of a starry, starry night. We all got so happy. We talked about real things for an hour: life, death, families, feeding tubes, faith. I asked Barbara, who does not eat food anymore, what are you most grateful for these days? She typed on her iPad, and Kate's mechanical voice spoke for her. The beauty of nature, the birds and flowers, the beauty of friends. This is called radical gratitude in the face of whatever life throws you. I was so glad and so grateful to be there with them that day. Euphoric. Gratitude, Lamott writes, begins in our hearts and dovetails into behavior. This is what scientific researchers have found as well. Earlier this year in the Journal of Positive Psychology, results were published showing how people who are more grateful are more likely to engage in healthy behaviors that positively impact biomarkers like cell function, decreased inflammation, and improving indicators that are related to heart disease, creating better outcomes for those living with cardiovascular disease. It turns out people who are grateful are simply better stewards of what they've been given. I believe this is what it means to be well and to serve well, recognizing that my body is my responsibility and giving thanks for the miraculous ways it functions when I provide it with the sustenance and the support it needs, including when I choose to give thanks. Health is a state of mind and attitude that naturally invites skillful choices in the moment. Gratitude is indeed a skillful choice. Thanksgiving every day. According to a 2011 study published in Applied Psychology, Health and Well-Being, the skillful choice of gratitude also leads people to sleep better, allowing our bodies to rest and repair, our cells to repair and regenerate. If you're not already doing so, perhaps our time together today will inspire you to begin a gratitude journal. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to wait to find the perfect book or format, though my hunch is Story and Song has some beautiful journals that you could find. But until then, just grab a pad and pencil, and each night before you turn off the light, after you've turned off the TV and the tablet and the phone, all those devices that steal you from being present to the moment, or perhaps after you've simply closed the covers of a new Anne Lamott book that you've chosen to read, list 2 or 3 things that you are grateful for from your day. Something that you saw during the day that brought you joy, an unexpected call from a friend or family member, the way the light came through the window and you caught a glimpse of it at just the right moment, reflecting off of a piece of art or glass, the health of your family, parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, your own health. Tonight I'll give thanks for our time together and for this opportunity that we have, even as I give thanks for it now. You will find the writing style of Lamott is self-effacing and disarming at times. She writes this: a lot of us religious types go around saying thank you to God when we find a good parking spot, or locate the house keys or the wandering phone, or finally get a good night's sleep. And while that may be annoying to the people around us, it's important because if we are lucky, gratitude becomes a habit. A gratitude journal is a great way to begin the habit of gratitude. In her work, Help, Thanks, Wow, Lamott quite naturally moves through this progression of asking for guidance, help, expressing gratitude for the help that comes, thanks, and then the beautiful exhale of breath and body that is awe. Wow. And she writes, when we are stunned to a place beyond words, then we are really beginning to get somewhere. I hope our time together today and in these weeks that we've shared, seeking to be well read, finds you starting to get somewhere new and meaningful and needful on your journey to being well and serving well. I hope if you're on the island that you'll call or stop by Story and Song, and pick up Help, Thanks, Wow, or one of the other poignant offerings by Anne Lamott. They are gentle reads. They are funny reads. It's like a conversation with a friend, a very honest friend. They're a gift, truly. Remember, too, and give these books as gifts during this season and throughout the year. And if you're off the island, visit the online bookstore. Seek out the writing of Anne Lamott. She will not disappoint. I believe you'll find, as I have, that her writing inspires and informs both your wellness and your wholeness. And I believe you'll not only thank her, but you'll thank yourself. Thanksgiving is more than a day, and we have now learned that it has a great impact on our health. It is a lifestyle. It is a practice. As I begin to wrap things up, this from the head of biologic psychology at Duke University Medical Center: if thankfulness were a drug, it would be the world's leading best-selling product with a health maintenance indication for every major organ system. Help, thanks, wow. Reverend Jim Burklow, Senior Associate Dean with the USC Office of Religious and Spiritual Life, views gratitude as a deeply personal emotion, especially when expressing thanks to another person. To say thank you to someone is to humble yourself, to recognize that you don't have it all. You didn't create it all, he said. By humbling ourselves, we elevate our humanity. Help, thanks, wow. Feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a gift and not giving it. Let's feel the gratitude, and let's take it one step further. Let's wrap the gift and give it away, knowing as we do that it is a gift that keeps on giving, humbling ourselves, elevating our humanity and the humanity of those around us, elevating our health, our wellness, and our wholeness. That is definitely a gift that the world could use about now. And let's wrap a few books as gifts this season. Books are my favorite gift to give and to receive. Thanks is too. And so I want to thank Mark and Donna, my friends at Story and Song, with special thanks always to Connor for bringing me to you over the miles, which I don't think he'll have to do next time, as I plan to be in the shop and on the island in early December. And stay tuned. We're hoping to be able to invite you to that event on December 3rd. I promise we'll let you know. I'd love to meet some of you who have been following along, even if it's at a 6-foot safe distance. I give thanks to you too for tuning in, for taking time to like and follow Be Well, Serve Well on Facebook, and also visiting our website, Be Well, Serve Well. Remember, that's B with 2 E's, because in Hebrew, Deborah means worker bee. One last passage from Help, Thanks, Wow. Quoting from Raymond Carver's poem entitled Late Fragment, written before his death at 50, inscribed on his tombstone, and familiar, I think, it will be to some of you. It goes like this. And did you get what you wanted from this life even so? I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved, to feel myself beloved on the earth. And then she writes, amazing things appear in our lives almost out of nowhere. Landscapes, seascapes, forgiveness. And they keep happening. So many vistas and so much healing to give thanks for. I pray that you are finding healing deep and wide, full and complete. I know it's possible, whatever your circumstances. I also hope that you'll reach out to me if I can help you heal. It would be my privilege to walk you through the steps, explore, surrender, heal, and to hear you whisper the word help that leads to the word thanks, that leads to the healing gift of all. Wow. So much healing to give thanks for. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, my friends. Begin now. It's more than a day, remember. Thanksgiving can be every day. And we now know that giving thanks has a great impact in giving us the gift of health. Help. Thanks. Wow. Thank you, friends. I'll see you in December. Be well read, be well, and serve well. And you know, yes, I will be doing the same. Thank you.